Welcome back to the GCSAA TV live stage, sponsored by Bayer. Joining me now are a few guys who know a lot about golf course renovations. We have Darren Davis, Superintendent at Old Florida Golf Club, Justin Apel, Executive Director of the Golf Course Builders Association of America, and Jason Straka, President of the ASGCA. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Darren, tell me about the recent renovation at the Old Florida Golf Club.
Sure. So with the Old Florida Golf Club's in Naples, Florida. We opened in October '93, and we had not done a renovation since opening, so pushing 30 years. It is a Reese Jones Inc. golf course. Greg Muirhead was the lead architect. The bunkers had kind of lost their character. They were original construction, so they had never been rebuilt. And obviously in the last 30 years, as these two gentlemen know, the techniques to build bunkers and the liners have been just exceeded expectations. They're great. And primarily it started as just a regrassing. In Florida, you have a lot of common Bermuda grass and off types. So we had been talking about it for 10 years or so among the board, and I said, well, you just tell me when you're ready, board, but you need to give me a couple years to prepare. Don't just spin it on me. So they finally came to me a few years back and said, okay, it's time. Can you do it this summer? we need a little time. So we had done a lot of trials of grasses and experiments with the different bunker method technologies that are out there. And so 2 years of planning, and we started the process of eradicating the existing Bermuda grass, which to me is probably the biggest challenge of the entire renovation process in Florida. Bermuda grass is extremely tough to kill. So started it March 15th, and I had promised them November 1 for the opening day, and I gave them a budget number, and on time and on budget. So we have a new stand of turf wall to wall. We actually did not do a greens renovation, everything but the greens.
Everything but the greens.
A little unique, but it came out great. I've been the only superintendent for 30 years that I've been there, 29 and some change. So I had a list of my staff and I put together of just small little things that we had seen, members had seen, that just little tweaks. So it wasn't like hire the architect to do a full-fledged remodel, blow it up, start over. It was more just tweaking, bringing the bunker shapes back to what they were originally, and getting a good stand of grass.
You didn't really change anything as far as the layout of the course?
No, sir. There was no architectural changes. It was more of just, as you can imagine, 30 years in Florida where we get 60 inches of rain and we have heavy play. Some of the contouring of the bunkers had been lost, so we wanted to regain that. And both Greg and I must be getting old, because Greg and I were together in 1992 when we did the golf course. So we both knew what the bunkers looked like. So Greg came in several times, and we reshaped, repainted them, took pictures, got the drone up, took shots of what our paint marks were, and so we knew where we wanted to build the bunkers. And some other small shaping, drop a mound here a little bit, reworked the lake banks, we've been adding tees for the last 8 years already, but through the process ended up adding 3 more forward tees, trying to get to that yardage, which Jason probably would tell you a number that he likes, but Reese Jones Inc. would like about 5,000 from that most forward tee. So we're getting closer by adding 3 more tees.
Excellent, excellent. Let's talk a little bit about how courses prepare for a renovation. Can you tell us some of the things that this is open to anybody who wants to jump in here?
Time, that is the biggest thing right now, is to make sure that you allocate enough time. Whether it's because builders are busy, architects are busy, superintendents are overwhelmed sometimes just because of the amount of play and the pressure that's happening. Supply chains, are a little bit difficult to manage right now. So, it starts from the bottom on up. I will tell you that from a design perspective, right now, it may be only 20% of my actual allocated work time. So much of it is spent working with the contractors, the superintendents, trying to find materials. And that's a big part of what we do, is problem solving right now. So that would be my biggest word of advice: allocate enough time.
Can you talk a little bit about what were you going to say?
No, yeah, of course, with that, plan early. The things that you're going to need, if it's a certain grass variety, look at the tools that are out there, growers contracts and things like that. Secure what you can control, what you can control, I think would really help that, because there are so many other uncontrollable factors with whether it's shipping or material, as you mentioned. But if there's things that you know you're going to do or know that you're going to need, and you have an idea of when you're going to need them, try to secure those early and get those, on reserve at least.
Okay.
So as Justin said, I mean, times have changed in the 30 years since we originally constructed it. We had to make a contract for the grass. I mean, we were going to do 55 acres of sod. So a year and a half in advance of the project, I took a checkup for 20% of that cost to secure it.
Okay.
And then we did plan ahead. We had several years, and then relationships. We have a number of companies, a number of builder, and that we have good relationships that certainly come through when challenges do come up.
I imagine whenever there's a renovation like that, you have to manage the members' expectations about what's going to be happening around as they are continuing to play. Can you talk?
Yeah, they're very curious when their course is blown up. Settle the rumors. Do what? Tours. Plan weekly tours. Do updates. Get the superintendent involved and have them share some of the progress that's happening. The contractor's going to give, with the architect, a pretty solid schedule of what's happening and when they expect certain things to be completed. There's no reason that can't be transparent to the members so they can see that progression too, that their course is on schedule. Or if there is a setback, weather or whatever it might be, everyone is on the same page of what those holdups, what's causing them and how they'll be corrected so you get the magic words of on time and on budget.
Transparency, I would say,
Yeah.
as Justin had said. I mean, that's always a big thing, for all of us working together, making sure that we're communicating to the members, so that could be through tours, which I'm sure that Darren's group, had done a lot of. That could be through drones, so we have wonderful technology now that maybe 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have. So you could do drone progressive journal updates every week and show them all the progress. Even if you're a member at a club in Florida, but maybe you live up north and you're not there, certainly that's what a wonderful thing to be able to go see your golf course being transformed.
Yeah, and you can share that socially, very inexpensively, and really use that to share it with beyond the membership, the progress. It's exciting things. People like to watch that process. You can really get an in-depth view very easily with the drone footage and see the progression, go back and compare it to where it was a month before that and really see it come together.
It was wonderful to see how many people would read the blogs I put out. It was a blog every few weeks. Social media is the way that most people communicate today, even members of our clubs at the age level that they are. So my blog was updated frequently, Instagram, Twitter, daily, operated the Old Florida Facebook page, and then they would see that. They don't always give it a like, but they're looking at it, and when they would come in town, they would call ahead wanting a tour. And my counterpart, PGA Director of Golf, he has more interaction than I do, but after the first tour we did together, he goes, "You're doing them all," because the excitement that they would see him, they'd be like, "We're doing this, we're dropping that mound, we're doing this," and so they really enjoyed that excitement. And I'll give you the short version of Dr. Dewich taught me over 30 years ago. The business is 10% turf and it's 90% people. Doesn't matter how good of a turf grower or how great that renovation is, if you're not keeping them informed, you could have some challenges.
Joe had some good things to say. What are some best practices for a renovation when you're working with a builder and an architect? Talk to us a little bit about.
You said it. The transparency is huge. I think you'll run into problems. You're out moving dirt. I mean, you're taking apart systems and trying to integrate drainage and make improvements, and then you bury it. So you want to do it right. You don't want to go back in and have to dig that back up or make adjustments after the fact. So there's got to be good transparency so that it's designed well, installed the best, so it can be maintained the best. And so when a problem does arise, is work through it as a team, and that way everyone's on the same page.
I'll tell you that one of the BMPs, for me that I love to see is that when the three of us, now we haven't had an opportunity to work together each, but meaning the golf course, superintendent, golf course architect, and the builder, and so that those expectations are married to your clients, and so that everybody is on the same page, so we know what the vision is from an architectural perspective, how it's supposed to play, the strategy, how we're helping to make sure that there's good drainage, irrigation, so that we can help promote, the best agronomic practices. Same thing that goes with the builder. So having that common vision instilled early is huge.
So that communication early and often,
You bet.
throughout the whole process, is key.
And this is true of any scope of project.
Right.
You know, really.
Sure.
It can be a private club, it could be a 9-hole municipal club. I mean, these points are all across the board relevant to the process.
Excellent. What are some things to avoid, and how do you deal with unexpected challenges, or maybe it's expected, but such as weather? I mean, you have to plan for that because the weather's going to screw things up.
Be careful with expectations.
Yeah.
You know, you don't ever want the owner to be told that expect this to be done like this, because there are going to be problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, only commit to what you have control over. You know, don't give out any unrealistic expectations so that if that can't be accomplished, you don't have to start spending meetings with finger pointing. You know, you never want a meeting that starts with whose fault it is. You want to start a meeting with, this is how we are getting past this problem. You know, you want to keep it positive and work together for the solution.
That's good advice for any project.
Well, that's just true in life, I think. So.
I was saying that together everyone accomplishes more, team, and you have to have a good team in place. You have the best builder in the world, you have the most popular, well-regarded architect, and a great grass grower and a superintendent, but if they're not working together as a team, you're probably not going to succeed. And that's why we were so fortunate to be on time, on budget, with the supply chain we had, because we had a great team in Reese Jones Inc., in Leibold, in our construction, bunker construction method. In irrigation, we also did 1,295 brand new heads and all new controllers in a time where it was challenging to get those parts, but due to relationships and communication and expectations, everyone would love to see a timeline, but they're not always realistic. But if you just continue to talk, when do you need those heads? Well, I need them by this date. And don't set an unrealistic expectation of a month earlier than you really need them. Just be honest, you know, and communicate, and it worked out well.
So when you're managing renovation timelines, what's the best practice there? You sort of touched on it just now.
So
how do you approach
planning? So knowing that one of the most challenging aspects was the eradication of the existing Bermuda grass, I had to go in and tell the membership, look, we're going to close the golf course in March. March is our season. Our season is October till May. So telling them we're going to close in March for 2 days, make an application of a non-selective herbicide, and it's going to turn brown in a week, and we're going to play on it. But had I not done that, it would have been unrealistic to expect my 96 to 99% eradication. So planning ahead and getting that in order was certainly important. And then having those commitments with the products you need and as well. So.
I think being honest with your membership, you know, or as well, you know, because sometimes you do have to tell them things that they may not want to hear. I'm sure they didn't want to hear Darren say, we're going to close for 2 days in March and your golf courses are going to turn brown. But I'm sure he did an excellent job of communicating why that was needed to be done.
Yeah.
And if you didn't do it, what the ramifications were.
Anything else you want people to know before we wrap up here?
I think it's just important that, you know, superintendents have, we call it on the builder's side, a scorecard, you know, and it's targets of a schedule and things that they want to have accomplished. Architect, you have a scorecard, you have a schedule, whatever you refer to it as. On that project, you have an organizational chart of what you want to see accomplished. And the superintendent does day-to-day anyway. And the transparency is to make sure all three of those systems are communicating, if you will, so that if someone's scorecard is off, if it affects someone else's, you can address it, correct it, and again, keep the membership happy because they are seeing the progress. That's probably the biggest concern is when work stops. And if you can avoid that, or at least help people understand why it stopped and how you're going to solve it, everyone wins.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your insights on the renovations, and good luck to all of you. Well, that concludes our coverage for today on the GCSAA TV live stage. We'll be back tomorrow morning, kicking things off at 9:25, and we'll hear what's new with Bayer Environmental Science, and we will have our final dog giveaway, all right here on the live stage. Thank you. See you then.